ABC News presents Earth Day. An SOS for survival. Here in New York is Frank Reynolds.
Good evening. On this Earth Day, millions of Americans in the communities which dot this map have taken the first step to survival. But if this day of teach-ins, mock funerals, rallies, marches, speeches, and songs does not convince enough of us that the threat to our life on Earth is clear and present, then we may have cast a vote for death. That's the symbolism in this ecology flag. The term ecology confirms again that the Greeks had a word for everything. The Greek word oikos means house. Ecology is the study of our earthly house, our environment. This ecology flag contains the Greek letter theta, once used as a vote for death in judging one man's fate. At stake now is every man's fate, whether his air will be pure, symbolized by the white stripes, whether his land will be unspoiled, symbolized by the green stripes. Everything that makes our living better also threatens our life. Jet planes that move us quickly assault our ears, help pollute our air, and when big enough, may affect our cloud cover and our climate. Ecology is a non-controversial issue. No one is against survival. Earth Day began as the idea of one United States senator. Now some Democrats and some Republicans are maneuvering to make the environment issue their party's private possession. The nation's capital is as polluted as any other big city. This time of year, when the cherry blossoms delicately frame the Potomac River, the frustrating irony of our lifestyle is clearly revealed. The trees are pink and beautiful. The river is brown and ugly, and it smells. The crisis may not be as dramatic as that of Apollo 13, and perhaps not as immediate, but the experts say it is no less real. A few weeks ago, I saw a boy of about 10 stand up in a public meeting and ask a speaker, "What's the solution to pollution?" The answer was, "You are." But of course it should have been, "We are." For all of us are polluters, and if we are the problem, we are also its solution. The cost will be high, but as the men of Apollo 13 will tell you, the Earth is worth it at any price.
It is April 20th, 2023, and this Saturday Tanya and I are going down to Washington, D.C. for the Earth Day, and it's a protest down there in Washington, D.C. Boston has one, and London has a huge one starting on Friday, the 21st, tomorrow, and goes until Monday, which they will probably have mass arrests on Monday. So I encourage you to check out the big one, which is Extinction Rebellion in London every day on YouTube, and to see what's happening. And they really have great speakers, 1,000 times better than I am. So anyways, this is one of the flags I'm going to have. If you show up down at Washington, D.C., I will gladly give you some of our extra flags that I'm taking down there, having for kids and things. But it is Earth Day, and do you see any borders here? No. You know, we're so consumed with this battle or that fight or this, that, and our country and that country. No, there's no, climate change does not stop at any borders, and we're all in the same boat. You know, some people, some countries, for example, are drilling into our lifeboat and cutting holes in it. The United States is a big example of that, China and other countries as well. And we're actually causing the lifeboat to sink.
Climate change is now out of control, and its disastrous outcomes are exponential and irreversible. A growing proportion of the world's population is already experiencing degraded lives. Societal chaos is approaching, and the demise of most wildlife species is well underway. The people in charge, elected government officials, are not prepared to deal with the nightmare scenario that is unfolding. They have no plans to ensure your future and that of the planet. If you're not old enough, follow Greta's lead, Scream for Life. Now is the time for a young person's revolution. Let your voices be heard. Continue your demonstrations. Speak to your parents, and where necessary, hold them accountable. Demand that when they vote for your future. It's easy to do and beyond reckless if they don't. Contact your politicians and hold them responsible for our current predicament. The power of change is in your hands.
The young people here used this symbol of death to dramatize the dangers to life. They placed a childlike plastic doll in an antique casket. They said it represented the death of generations yet unborn. With a horse-drawn hearse, the pollution protesters turned to the past to plead for the future. This small-town movement was led by local teenagers. John Glavis, 19. His father's occupation, pest control. And Bonnie Campbell, also 19. She was born here. She remembers when the air was fresh and the water clean.
We want the people to project themselves into the casket, you might say. We want them to feel that they're responsible for putting that child in that casket. People have asked me, do you think you can stop the pollution problem without violence? I think you may see a great militancy growing, especially during the next 10 years with the youth.
You plan on getting married when you get older and having kids, and you want them to be able to take hikes in the woods, like be nature loving. You want nature to still be around, wildflowers and brooks and streams and everything. And if pollution keeps going on, there won't be the clear brooks. There might be a few, but you'd have to go far away to see them, and you want them right here where you're at.
If we pollute a little bit, people say, well, we'll tolerate it because it's for progress. Then a little bit more pollution, and a little bit more, and they keep tolerating it until it gets to the point where it's no longer tolerable. Here in Ashtabula, I believe that it's getting very near that point. Around in this area, you don't have to go very far before you find choking smog, and you can see streams that flow like ribbons of death underneath highways where the industries have poured materials into the water. This is what shocks me, is the fact that when something can be seen like this, that people don't do anything about it. They say, well, that's too bad, something has to be done, and that's where it stops.
The IPCC, the United Nations IPCC, says we're at 1.2 degrees of heating, and that's absolutely not true because the level of catastrophe seems to be doubling. If you use the 1750 baseline, we're probably at about 64 times the level of catastrophes that we have now than what we had back then. And chances of surviving are pretty slim the way things are going. They came out with the 3 reasons why we're in big trouble, and you can check that out on the Union of Atomic Scientists Doomsday Clock. The United Nations IPCC said, and they're really conservative. They don't come out and say what's happening, as far as conjecture and everything. It has to be the lowest common denominator of agreement for anything, and they said we're going to go to a 3.2 degrees Celsius increase before 2100. That's probably a lie. It's probably, I would predict it's by 2050.
It's Earth Night now at the Washington Monument. The protest leaders say it won't stop here because the air, the sky, and the water will continue to get dirtier and dirtier.
The 3.2 degrees Celsius increase without factoring in permafrost melt, glacier melt, albedo effect, all these other things. Peat bogs drying up and catching fire. The Amazon rainforest at a tipping point. It's at 17% right now, less trees. And if they get up to 20, there's a thought that the whole thing will just collapse because no longer do you get the rain that comes every day. It becomes a savanna. In my estimate, it becomes a desert down there, the Amazon desert. So the idea of just suggesting a 3.2 is survival is absolutely insanity. There's no effort by locals to go that whole hour and a half down to Washington, D.C., either by subway, the metro, or drive down. Either way, it doesn't matter how you get there. Get there. I don't care about people going, you drove. Screw you. The fact is that we have to get down there, and sitting here and saying, I'm not doing it because it's going to pollute the air. No, this is an example where you actually have to do something and at cost to the environment to get things done to save the entire world. That's how dire it is right now. I'm going to try to make my case why we need to change and things like that. It's over, Johnny.
Back it up. Watch yourself.
It's over, Johnny.
It's over. Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!
Some youngsters in Washington today expressed their feelings on this first Earth Day with new words to music we all know. We'll let their song be our good night. Last week at this time, as the Apollo 13 astronauts struggled back to Earth, a seldom used word became almost a conversational standby: consumables. We added up their oxygen and water supplies and measured the total against the number of hours left in the mission. And there was no doubt that unless they got back before their consumables vanished, so would they. Well, the ecologists tell us the spaceship Earth is in much the same fix, with not unlimited supplies of consumables, and a cutoff point before splashdown and maybe fade out for all of us.